Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast.
And we are live and ready to go. That's right. Welcome you guys once again to the Big Potato Podcast. That's right. We are here once again, episode number 2 in season number 4. We are here. Yours truly, Kendall, and my co-host Stuart. What's up?
I am great. As my aunt would say, I didn't
Good
see
as
it for this
gold.
season, you know.
Yeah.
Good as gold.
Good as gold. We must bring back a world famous line from Auntie, man.
We good as gold, man.
Good as gold.
Ready and excited for this episode.
Excited for this episode. In many ways, it's almost like a full circle moment.
Exactly.
This episode right here, and you'll find out more about that later on. Remember, you guys, we thank you so much as always for tuning into the Big Potato Podcast, for following, for sharing, for making sure and supporting, being part of the Big Potato community. We appreciate you guys. Be sure, if you have any questions or you want to reach out, to send us an email at thebigpotatopodcast@gmail.com. I'm telling you guys.
You should like and share one time.
Like and share.
One time
and share.
as it starts, at least the message will spread further and more people will be able to access the content.
Agreed. Remember, we empower entrepreneurs and business leaders for today's business landscape. It's light-hearted discussion, but chock full of business insights. So you don't want to miss a moment of it. We're not wasting any time tonight because you have a very special guest already online with us tonight. Very, very, very special guest. Busy guy as well. And we want to get into this conversation. So let me do the honorable thing and start to introduce him one time. Of course, he is a Caribbean creative entrepreneur, cinematographer, event producer, and digital marketer from Trinidad and Tobago. He is the founder of companies such as KENSAMBURY Co and EEEempire, where he builds experiences, content campaigns, and community-driven brands across culture and entertainment. He has a background spanning event production, storytelling, brand strategy, media, business development, innovation, entrepreneurship. His work focuses on helping Caribbean ideas become more visible, valuable, and globally respected. His mission is to connect people, document culture. I know you know about that. And of course, to build platforms that turn creativity into lasting impact. So without further ado, let me welcome our guest tonight, KENSAMBURY. Ken, welcome to the Big Potato Podcast.
Welcome, Ken.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate the warm welcome.
All right, Ken.
This is, as I said, full circle moment.
Full circle moment.
What I would say is that this is the return of the Slayers of Muchi.
I know it was coming
man,
up soon.
that was good times.
I mean, some context of that's put inside joke. We were all members in the same group at Lockjack, and we kind of pulled each other, we pushed each other through many situations. So, it's really a full circle moment. Good to see you again, my brother.
Excellent.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot. And I just wanted to shed a little bit more light on what you said, which is so for those of you who don't know, when you go to Lockjack, they essentially put you in a group and you stay in that group for like the entire time.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's important to know now, because like if you just do a group project, I mean it's a one-off, but it's like we locked in now, boy. Like we really locked in, dog. So I think something good to know, and also Stuart, you should let people know what Slayers of Muchi means.
I was going to ask him,
Well, it was, according to Google Translate, at the time it was Slayers of Ignorance.
Right.
So that's what our whole group was about, slaying ignorance. All the projects, we were just trying to bring the best information, the best angles, the best strategies. We were the project bosses.
Yes.
We used to ace everything there. So the Slayers of Muchi reunited once more.
Once more for
Yeah,
a great
love
conversation tonight. Ken, once again, great to reunite. I mean, we see each other pretty often in terms of other business, but tonight it's all about the Big Potato Podcast. And on that note, let's jump into segment 1, which is what caught my eye. And this week, Stuart, you want to go first? You want to go first? You want me to go first this week?
I go first.
All right, lovely. Of course, what caught my eye, quick topics, quick articles or stories that would have grabbed our attention that we really want to cross some business insights from?
Well, this is an article called More Than Mass, Trinidad Carnival's Festival Economy, its fault lines, and the next steps for creative economy development in the Caribbean by ZLHcareers.com. This came out on the 16th of March, 2026. The title says it all. So I'll just identify some of the key takeaways that we could discuss. I'd love to get your comments on it. They state that Carnival is not simply an event. It functions as cultural and economic infrastructure within the wider creative economy of the Caribbean. So it's not just an event, it is the actual infrastructure. It offers one of the most developed examples of a festival economy in the Caribbean. But there are some questions as well. Is creative renewal being intentionally supported within the current structure? So for instance, you see Peter Minshall, you see creativity. Is that being allowed in the current infrastructure? Then there's a question of the regional integration. So for instance, Reggae Month and Trinidad Carnival is the same month. So it's difficult for the Jamaicans to come across here and for us to go across there for synergies, you know? So there's a lot of questions like that. But one of the main things is local audience development is essential. So what they suggest is that schools partner more deliberately with traditional mass camp cultural educators like myself to make sure that there is a future for not just the industry side of things, but for the market side of things. You know, you must have a market. People have to fill these seats. So those are some of the things that they were mentioning. So those are some of the key takeaways about Carnival, because we think of it as just loud music, bikini beads, alcohol, and a good time. But there's a lot more than that, and a lot more we need to be thinking about to make sure it's sustainable into the future.
Well said. Any thoughts
So I'd
on
love
that,
to hear
Ken?
comments on that, Ken.
Yeah, I mean, I just overall agree. I feel like definitely, I would always say that Carnival is our next oil. From the perspective of we would have used, as a country, our oil reserves to really boost our economy. And, we don't have to look too far in the world. We could look at Dubai, which didn't really have much natural resources as compared to the other, I would say states in that area, as part of the UAE. However, they were able to really use their tourism and use really good strategic planning to now be like a tourist destination. And this is without any amazing beaches, this is without any of those natural resources now. And we are here in Trinidad, in the Caribbean, where we have some of those, naturally occurring things, such as the duality between Trinidad and Tobago, which in my opinion could give you the best of both worlds, where you have the hustle and bustle, the party lifestyle, and your full, I call it like your full New York experience, your city life in Trinidad versus your kind of laid back, chill out, vibes in Tobago. So I think if we look at it and we, essentially take the Dubai model but reapply that model to Trinidad and Tobago in a long term, I feel like we could kind of see how we could pivot our economy away from being a petroleum-based, economy.
Right.
Fantastic. I mean, those points are very valid, and I agree. I definitely think some collaboration. I believe even in the last episode, we spoke a lot about collaboration. It seems like we're talking about that for some episodes right now in terms of that collaboration and in order to really drive some of these creative sectors. So many creatives doing amazing jobs in and out of Carnival, but just specifically to the article, even within the Carnival space, I believe that we have the opportunity to collaborate more. And I just happened on that collaboration point because it was one of the key things that Ken said there. But also, I would say that, there needs to be some form of proper data collection around some of these metrics. And I'm seeing, kudos to a number of the different, while I was doing some research for this episode, I will have come across a number of articles, a number of stories, briefs, etc. People are putting in the work to start to measure the right metrics for Carnival. So we want to move away from the traditional how many people landed, You know, how many hotel rooms were booked, you know, how many we had for January, how many we had for February. Those metrics, yeah, all good. But, you know, what is it doing for some of what you spoke about and from what some of what Ken spoke about in terms of the creative industry around Carnival as well, in terms of how we could really drive it forward, move it forward. Somebody brought up an interested point in a very informal conversation I was having recently, probably in the Carnival season, that they think that Trinidad should have more than one Carnival per year. You understand? If this is our landmark type of event, and they supported their point, you know, I wouldn't get too much into it because it wasn't my point of view. But, you know, they had some credible a credible point of view and perspective on that, you know, and really how that could transcend into building up our economy even more. And really, as Ken said, stamp our feet in the sand to say, yeah, well, this is the Mecca, and this is ours, and this is what we could do with it. But all of this we could get into in much more detail later on
because
tonight.
so many things I hear in here. I want to counter, but
Yeah.
Let me just hold on. Hold on.
Of course.
Hold on
Of
to the
course.
next segment.
Of course, and we will get into it a little more. So do you think that we should have 2 carnivals? Let us know in the comments. You never know. It might be something that we could champion the cause. And we're not talking a carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. We're talking here 2 Trinidad carnivals. I don't know if Tobago reached the stage and capacity of having 2 of their own. But totally different conversation altogether.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. But quickly segueing into what caught my eye this week. Mine came from actually Accela.com. All right. One of our Caribbean marketing companies. They do great work. And the article was called The Death of Polished Tourism. Why the Caribbean's future belongs to influencers. All right. As I said, it came from Accela Marketing. And I mean, when we talking, this was written on May 5th, so I'd rather tell you what they were writing about, which would have happened in the Caribbean just before that, in terms of the iShow Speed Caribbean tour, all right? And just to quickly give a summary in terms of some of their key points, you know, the article argues that traditional Caribbean tourism marketing, or the polished ads, which we are accustomed to, when you see the ads coming out of the tourism for St. Kitts and for Trinidad and for Tobago and for Dominica, you know, it's the white sand and the clear waters and everything is so polished, you know, and sometimes you ask yourself, boy, when I go there, you know, is that the reality? Is that what I'm going to see? Is that what I'm going to experience, really and truly? And they're saying that, you know, in their point of view, from their research, that is losing some relevance in today's creator-driven world, right? Instead, audiences are connecting more with real authenticity and real experiences and cultural immersion. So, for example, even the iShow Speed visit, and you realize he was completely immersed. While some things, yes, were planned and staged and all these things, the point of view is from the viewers, the 50-something million and how much ever million, they were seeing pure immersion on the streets, for example, in Trinidad, eating doubles, playing pan, doing these things, you know, things that you would not necessarily see in the traditional tourism type ad. And even if you do see it, it would be so well polished that it looks nothing like what you would have experienced here. It highlights how, as I said, streamer iShow Speed reportedly generated over 16 million cumulative views just across the first 5 Caribbean territories, which of course included Trinidad on the first day. All right. Local culture, real interactions, as I said, food, music, energy, unfiltered moments. One of the biggest points is that the younger audiences are increasingly trust these influencers. We make no doubt about that, whether it be for experiences, products, services. People are going to TikTok, people are going to Instagram, they're getting the reviews based on what the influencers say. This is a proven point, and then they're going with that. You know, long time for, I don't want to age ourselves here. We may have had to go through a different process to see, you know, the reviews on particular things. Tourism no longer is just about the destinations. It's about storytelling. You always talk about that, you know, emotion, community, experiences. And ultimately, what the Caribbean sometimes sees as blemishes, for example, when you go by a double stand, and we know what that feels like to be in an authentic space by a double stand, is nothing glamorous, right? But what we might look at as something that is raw and rough and that type of thing is, I mean, it's not rough, but, you know, the experience there You're not in a 5-star restaurant. Really and truly, we probably don't sell that well enough because the foreigners, they come here and they lap it up. You know, they find no problems in it whatsoever. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on that from you, Ken, in terms of, do you think really and truly the way that influencers and that whole transition is happening right now in digital marketing and even in social media and these spaces is really taking precedence over the planned and polished type advertising and promotion of our tourism spaces?
That's a real good question, you know. Honestly, to answer that, I would want to say we should check the data and really see, right? I could say from like my perspective, from like my own like looking at things, I actually appreciate both, you know, and I don't know if I'm influenced by also being like a cinematographer and stuff, but I feel as though in some cases I like polished marketing because I would see what the country is like essentially trying to promote, and it will be like curated, you know, of course, once it's done well, effectively, you know, because to be honest, like I was listening to you chatting and like, to be honest, I feel like if I'm doing an ad with Trinidad, like I am going to have steel pan and I'm going to have doubles, and it will be like my job to make Europe look amazing. You understand? So if I do a good job, Europe will look amazing now. Now, of course, we coming into a little ethical realm where I would need to make sure it still look real now, you know? And I would never forget, I would say like coming up as a cinematographer, another group / filmmaker I always admired was a guy named, I can't remember his name, but his business is Trinidad Rocks or Trini Rocks or something like that. Trinidad Rocks, I think is his name. And I remember they had a video on YouTube like of Maracas speech. And it was just so raw, like it was Maracas Beach, you know, I'm taking a little sweat, somebody busting on a bacon shack, you know, like, so yeah, you had the beach there and the waves and so on, but it showed like the raw element, but it was still high quality though, you know, it was still high quality. So I feel like I still favor the high quality. However, it can't be done in what you would call like a TV ad way. And just to kind of give everybody a little bit of context. So before social media, when you had TV ads, you found that it was a lot easier to, you know, when you're doing ads, you're kind of what I would call broad beat. So you just put out an ad and everybody see it essentially, right? So even if your target is, you know, people the age of Stuart Kendall and Ken, it don't matter. You're still hitting people 19, you're still hitting people 65 because everybody just watching news or whatever it is. Of course, you might have your particular show you want to put your ad on, but it's very broad. Versus now, you find that even if you're doing something high quality and polished, you still want to do it with your target audience in mind. So because of that, you know, people are looking for more authenticity in their marketing now. Because there's also a dark side to influencers and people influencing where you find that people do a lot of stuff for hype and they may not even be enjoying it or really trying to participate, but it's kind of like, let me just see how much views I could get, let me just see how many things I could get, and then people just kind of saying, well, yeah, boy, you know, people seeing, but is the influencer, which is the question, is the influencer really influencing, you know, or are they just bringing awareness, you know? And to be honest, both are important. You know, when I have projects, I try to have at least one person who is bringing awareness. It might be getting any sales, you know, but real people seeing it. And then you have somebody else who could work with that person, and that person is actually working on conversion. Because a lot of times I have found it's not the same person now. And same thing here with this type of marketing. It could be a situation where your ISO speed is bringing awareness. Because, you know, when you do a fancy video and you spend $10,000 or whatever on your tourism video, it's not like that coming with any views, right? That's just, you know, that's just the video, essentially. So the idea is you want to get like an ISO speed to bring you 16 million people. And then you have your professional video to show people, all right, this is, you know, like I remember my friend Rocolia, when she was working with Tobago's tourism, she actually randomly migrated to random side point. And she developed this campaign, which was like 16 things in Tobago or something like that. And she had like 16 amazing things from Tobago. So like a beach, crab and dumpling, and 16 different things now. So the idea is that you have like a video that shows the 16 things. So when you go to Tobago, it's like a checklist, which ISO Speed is not doing. Like he's not giving, you know, checklists. So that when you come in Tobago, you know, so like the onus is really on tourism boards and people who are working on the polished videos, to make it more practical for 2026 and beyond. So I wouldn't really say one is greater than the next. I feel like both of them have to work in tandem, and that is how you could really get a strong, what I would call like a 360, marketing media campaign for a country.
I agree. I think that balance is needed. When I was listening to you read the article, I found there were a lot of assumptions in the statements that this polished tourism is dead. I don't think it's dead. I don't think it ever will be dead, because you have to take charge of your message and your brand, right? If you leave it up to Christmas lists to be an influencer, everybody just seeing crime and criminals, and so is that what the nation is trying to present to the world? The different influencers have their own agendas.
Correct.
It may not necessarily be in line with what we as our nation want to present as our brand to the world. So for her to say that influencers are the future and we have to just give up and let them do what they want, it goes back to the conversation we were having with Darian Sobian in the episode about whether we want to create our own narratives or always be mentioned by somebody on the world stage and feel proud about it. And this iShow speech showed that it was more evidence of what I was saying, that we just love these foreigners to come and save us in some way, as opposed to us building our own narratives, building our own stories and selling it out to the world. And so in terms of the branding, I believe that we need to always maintain control over what we're selling as a nation.
Yeah, right. Agreed. And I mean, I do take a point in terms of the article where there is some relevance in terms of both aspects. So it wasn't necessarily saying that anyone is dead per se, but in terms of losing a little bit of relevance in terms of what we would deem as the more traditional sense. But as we all discussed here, there is some relevance in maintaining both aspects, integrating them well in order to capture it.
What people need to remember is the TV show America's Got Talent. Every America's Got Talent got millions of fans. Everybody loving the show. What America's Got Talent, the brand and the singers are two separate things. So America's Got Talent have their following. They on their own agenda. They building their brand. When these artists, when you could come first, you could win. You're not going platinum, and you're going to be forgotten in a year or two. Who won last year? Who won the year before? No one knows. So you have to remember, you have to see about. They say take care of number one first. You need to take care of number one first, and not just wait for other people's productions to just benefit from it.
Point well taken, sir. And I know I'm talking to two very passionate people here in terms of this topic.
Yeah, again warm.
So,
warm inside here.
Yeah, particularly in terms of our culture and really representing that the right way. And we definitely would need to have an episode in the future where we really talking about cultural defense and promotion. But
I could be the guest on that.
Yeah, for
sure. You and Ken will interview me.
Yeah, we will interview you. We'll switch seats. But thank you so much, guys, for your perspectives on that in terms of the What Caught My Eye segment. A little longer than usual tonight, but definitely a great start to our conversation. And of course, we'll be right back with more on the Big Potato Podcast. Let's find out some more from Ken in terms of how he is creating global experiences representing Trinidad and Tobago. Stick around. What if your next big idea is already inside you, just waiting to be discovered? The future belongs to those who think differently and embrace new challenges. At our Design Thinking Workshop, you will unlock creativity, sharpen your problem-solving skills, and learn how to turn ideas into real impact. Collaboration, innovation, and transformation are at the heart of this experience. Get ready for something big. Further details will be coming soon. This is your moment to think, create, and innovate. Stay tuned. And we are back on the Big Potato Podcast. We are already off to a thrilling start to this episode with our esteemed guest, Mr. KENSAMBURY. Yeah, he's here with us tonight. I mean, Ken is someone, when you talk culture, you talk carnival, you talk Trinidad and Tobago experiences, you talk marketing, Excellent guy to talk to, very creative, and we're very happy to have Ken with us here tonight. Did you know Ken was part of one of the most historic moments in Trinidad's history with the Red Bull flu tag? And I think everybody remembers Red Bull flu tag.
Yeah. What they remember about it?
What they remember about it, but it was definitely one of the most memorable experiences in this country.
I remember some things about it, and I would say.
So I just throw it out there. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Nice guy.
That's the guy. Now, Ken, in terms of your, I ask all the guests this as a basis question to really just set the tone. You would have been, you don't have to give us your full bio, your full history, but how did you get here? How did you get to this stage of owning this brand, owning this IP, and really and truly, taking on your back, I would say, wanting to push Trinidad and Tobago's culture forward to the world?
All right. So I feel like it would have been many different life experiences and inputs. So I'll just give like a few like stops along the way. Because how I look at it is like a road essentially. It's like, let's say I drive into to Tong. And, I would have had, I would have passed Piaco, passed Aruca, and each place I passed, would have pushed me a little further into this particular direction. I think growing up, I would have left home really early. I think probably around 17 or so. And around that time, I would have been like clubbing. I would have been going to the living room nightclub, essentially, and partying there until in the morning. Back in those days, I used to like literally party until like the sun come up. I used to go on living room rooftop after being on the second level and so on. Those were the days of Studio 53. So it had people like Quincy Robinson, Jabari, David Roberts, from Zygon, who, really used to be running the route down there. And I was like the, a youth man kind of observing the situation and the scene. And at that time, reggae in Trinidad was huge. So, of course, you had your Ice Sashas, your Million Voices, and so on and so forth. So somehow I'd end up in La Hoqueta. And then it had, the normal thing, a youth man, so it had our best Rasta named Sophia. I used to check in La Hoqueta too, right? So I feel like in that environment, I really fell in love with the entire, I would say, the industry from the perspective of I saw how it gave people like a mission, essentially. So I think first it really came out of like me like falling in love with not necessarily entertainment, but how culture was used as a tool to give people motivation. And then one of my other stops was because in my analysis of Trinidad and Tobago, I felt like, okay, Trinidad has oil. However, we're going to get less and less oil. So yes, I could go in the oil industry, but I feel as though it's not going to be sustainable long term. In addition to which, if I just show up in, let's just say, France, and I say I'm from Trinidad and I say we have oil, I feel like I wouldn't be respected, let's say like Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia has more oil. But I felt like if I get involved in Carnival, I could be the best in the world, and I could go wherever. I could go Saudi, I could go Brazil and all, and say I'm the best in the world in Carnival, and they'd be like, serious? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm from Trinidad, and they'd be like, yeah, boy. And it'll have a argument, it'll have a discussion, because I could genuinely be the best in the world. So I felt like I wanted to choose an industry where I could excel, but I could also use me being from Trinidad and Tobago as an advantage instead of as a disadvantage, essentially. So I could just say I'm from Trinidad, and that already given me some credibility as a carnivalista or someone who is, let's say, an expert on carnival. So I feel like that was what influenced me, because I never started to get involved in the reggae industry. I stuck to carnival. So that's what made me like say, hey, let me pay attention to carnival.
I will jump in here though, in terms of your journey and getting, because obviously this is setting the stage here now to say, all right, well, this is how you got into events, events promotions, planning, strategizing, and even, events into carnival. I think not preempting your next step or stuff, but that would be coming as well. But from a business point of view, at what stage did it start being like, all right, well, you know what? This is no longer just the lime and the having a good time, and you know, we have the girls and we moving and we pumping and these kind of things. But now I could actually make some money off of this. I could actually get into this. I could actually build a career out of this, you know, and you know, for the benefit of our audience, because as I said, our audience is diverse. And I know for a fact that we have persons who are in the entertainment industry and they wondering, right, well, you know, how do I make the transition to start to monetize this thing?
Yeah, so I think for me, boy, I have so many responses, but let's just start from my side. Okay, so one side of my responses would be, I think for me, I was always interested in connecting people, right? So as a result of that, I felt like if I could bring people together, no matter what my business is, I could be driving taxi. I would just be the best taxi driver and get all the passengers essentially and all of the higher jobs because I was the person who was the host and able to like connect everybody. So I feel like I chose business as my career, but then I felt like if I am doing business, I need to also do events because that is what is going to allow me to do better business. So I used to just say, all right, I need to find a way to monetize me going out all the time. So it made sense. So I think it was off of a desire for sustainability, really, that I made it a business now. Because I said, if I have to keep going, like I didn't even know what a committee was, but obviously now I know. But I would have said the equivalent to, wait, boy, I need to get on some kind of committee or like be part of this so that way I would be able to be the one kind of like earning from this now. And I would give much credit to my mom, who was a professional economist. You know, she worked in the Agricultural Development Bank. So that's really how I got involved in the business part of events.
To be more of a producer than a consumer.
And as we keep saying on the podcast as well, become a creator. You understand? And not just a creative, right? So, I mean, fantastic synopsis. I mean, I know there's far, far, far more detail, and some of these stories sound a little juicy. Might need to do a separate podcast episode on that. Yeah, a steam room episode.
Name to call. We have on every story.
We get a name drop.
Yeah, every story there's a dream and there was a girl every time.
And I mean that is important because again, for our diverse audience that listen to us, everybody has a story. You understand, in terms of how they get started and what would have inspired them to even get started in their own entrepreneurial journey or intrapreneurial journey in terms of where they work. So I really thank you for sharing that.
It shows what motivates people. Could be, as I said, diverse, right? Different. So many people underestimate the motivational power of a beautiful woman. Huh?
Of course, well, I mean.
Well, let me get into the your events, right? And your audience. Because there are two types of things. There's either trying to build an audience or trying to really build a community. And you, from observation, have built a community as opposed to just an audience. So you want to talk on that as to why you decided, well, firstly, if my assumption is correct, that you did try to build a community as opposed to an audience, and then why you chose that?
Boy, I would like to say the community chose me, you know, because here I went on, right? Every time I go to do an event, and honestly, it's happening to me right now, like, I feel like I would have hung up my event boots at least, I would probably say about 15 times, boy, Stuart, boy, I let you know, straight up. Because here, what is going on, right? What has happened? And it's all be a good thing. What has happened is I would always reach like a particular income bracket with my other ventures that I will feel like to go through all this work, boy, and then make X, and I could just not do that, right? And still make X, boy. Not that it's about the money, but I just mean like, it's a significant amount of work and mental load as well to like do events specifically now. And there's a lot of like relationships and so on and so on. But what I learned, and I actually learned this from my last couple events, I should say I was reminded of it from my last couple of events. You see, to me, I feel like we all have roles in society, and I have just learned to embrace my role in society. My role in society is to get certain people out of their house and connected. People who have met at my events and got married. People who have met brethren at my events. They will reconnect. They will talk business, you know. And we keep attracting people. Like the last event we had, we would have met like a doctor came, just a medical doctor who he also owns a business called 24-hour doctor's office or something like that. So basically he owns a doctor's office and he has doctors under his charge and so on and so forth. And he came to this, again, this was a party. He came to the party, right? And my creative director got sick and she was able to go by him and, like get treatment and so on and so forth. Stuff that like, she said she went to the hospital. She never get any, what's the correct word for that? Respite? Yeah, she she didn't get any relief. And she went there and she was able to get through now. And that's just like a real basic snapshot of like, you have certain type of events, you're able to attract certain type of people. They would really love it. And how we got to know him is because he came to meet with us because he enjoyed the event so much. Okay. He wanted to figure out how we could work together now, And I felt like even sitting in our meeting, I was like, yeah, boy, I feel like we really have a duty. And I have a duty to the community. Right? To the community to keep doing events and keep doing it for, in a certain way. Because you can ask Kendall, I always do events in a certain way. So that's why I need certain people like Kendall, who's an amazing mic man, by the way, to always like be there. So that they could like champion a particular type of vibe that mixes. Yes, you're having wine and you're jamming and so on, which is our culture, but you're still able to enjoy your soca music. You're still able to put up your hands in the air. You're still able to eat some nice food and get all of your amenities now, So I feel like, yeah, boy, I don't think I chose the community at all. I feel like the community kept choosing me. And I must say special thanks to all the people over the years who, again, every one of them 15 times when I would just hang up my boots and say, yeah, boy. Last thing I would say is, so for Barber Hall, right? So I said, I have this event called Barber Hall that I've had like before the pandemic. I had a couple post-pandemic. And I said like, I really want to grow it into a big national event. So I applied for a grant through the IDB. And we didn't get a response from the IDB yet. So I say, okay, I give myself until July to see like if IDB going to respond or not. Because if they respond, it's to do an event, right? The grant is for events only. And I would have to do the event before the end of the year, essentially, So I don't want to plan Barber Hall and then, because Barber Hall is what I, submitted the grant for now. Right. So as a result of that, I haven't been able to release Barber Hall for the year, and it has been a painful process, bro, because we have about 50 chefs that signed up last year, and they keep messaging, what going on? When are you going to have this thing? One of our suppliers who does like truss lights and stuff, he approached me and said, Ken boy, we want to come in as a partner on this thing. And I am just there like, all right, this is good. This is really good. And I just really feel like, let's just say like for some other reason, I wasn't doing it. I feel like now, even if I didn't have that, I had a motivation now. So I really feel like, yes, I would do my part to create the community, but I must give the community credit for coming to me and saying, look, we are the community. We are the people who want this. So please, can you continue to have this so that we could keep, being part of this community now?
Yeah, the community keeping you on your toes and they keeping the demand for your event alive.
Yeah, boy.
Correct. And I mean, in terms of, I have a note here, and I'm really glad they touched on it. Authenticity, audience attention, and modern branding. And, you didn't say those words just now, but exactly what you said is what that is, because we are familiar with your events and I have worked with you for quite some time as well on events. And there's something unique, as Ken said earlier. And I think that is what also drives the community. So even for those looking on, listening in the audience as well, and you're wondering, well, how could I build this community for myself? How do I get this? Authenticity, I think, is important. Really focusing your attention as well on your target audience, understanding the unique experiences that they would want to have. I tell you straight, Ken is the only person, event curator. I don't want to just call him a promoter, but event curator that could drag me out my house on a Sunday night to go quite manzanilla. Right? And when I reach there is because I see other people who I know would prefer also to be at home. They in the event. You know, so it is something about, I'm glad you asked the question in terms of community building, because that is exactly what it is. It's not just, you know, you go out there like many others, you promote a party, advertise, and you hope for the best, really and truly, in terms of your number, your ticket sales and so on. This is something where you have your community growing with you, as we would have discussed on many episodes before. So I really thank you for bringing that point up. That note, we got to take a short commercial break. From Ibadan to Helyard is a journey that spans continents and centuries. It's the story of how, through adversity, innovation was born, giving rise to the steel pan, a sound now celebrated around the world. This isn't just a tale of history, it's a testament to sovereignty, to the unbreakable spirit that transforms struggle into legacy. Stuart Fortunet's Amazon bestseller and its Grammy-considered audiobook invite you to connect with your roots and understand the power of resilience. It's a movement for those who want to know their history and step forward with wisdom. Follow From Ibadan to Helyard and get your copy at paper-based bookshop, Scribbles and Quills, and your favorite online retailer today. And we are back on the Big Potato Podcast, delivering your business insights for all our business leaders and entrepreneurs. You know, we empower you guys for today's business landscape. And tonight we're getting a lot of stories, a lot of name drops as well, in addition to the incredible insights that we usually have here on the Big Potato Podcast. But it's time for one of your favorite features on the show, Would You Rather? And tonight, Ken, we put in you on the hot seat. So I'll go first. Would you rather have unlimited creativity or unlimited audience reach? Unlimited creativity or unlimited audience reach?
Yeah, I would definitely go with audience reach, because I believe, like, in order to actually be creative, you need to be able to be creative within, like, boundaries, you know.
All right.
Well, I actually agree. I actually agree. I would prefer the unlimited reach. Strictly, I mean, if it's for commercial purposes, well, then yes, I need the audience reach. If it's just me being artsy in my room, painting this, well, then it's not relevant. But sometimes it's always this venture. Yeah, the audience reach. You don't need to be the best creative, but you need the audience reach.
All right. Well, I guess it wasn't as nuanced as I thought. But because, you know, and that really came from a conversation with a really creative person. And they were like, they trapped in a box and they don't have the levels of creativity that they want. But I looking at this person following and community, so to speak, and it's huge. You know, so that's kind of where I got that from. I am a business person. I deal with numbers. So reach will always be the standard that I would be measuring.
As a creative, you always will be in a box. Because, again, you have a goal behind this project, so you have to place yourself within this box of creativity for this purpose.
That. Yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't really put too much worry or thought into that.
All right.
Yeah. What? Sorry. I have a question. So, would you rather stay culturally pure, as in representing your culture 100% with slower growth, or adapt globally for faster scale?
I would adapt globally for faster scale.
Why is that?
Because I could always point whoever to representing the culture. You know, there's a Jay-Z line that says, you get rich to give back, and that's your win-win. The line before that was, anytime you see a homie and his rim spin, no, my mind is just thinking like him. There's another line that he said, which is, he said he dumbed down his lyrics to double my dollars, and they criticize me for it. They all yell, holla. So yeah, I just subscribe to that belief. You know, I feel like, yeah, okay, Jay-Z could rap stuff and we could not understand it. But when Jay-Z gets a lot more money, resources, a lot more reach, as we just spoke about, he is now able to redirect the conversation into the areas of 100% culture.
Nice.
Fantastic. I mean, for me, same, you know. I can't dispute that at all.
But I will go the opposite way. Again, it's culture we're talking about. You know, I'm kind of passionate, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I will use Trinidad's Carnival as the example. We've diluted it so much trying to chase that global appeal that we've lost our differentiator, and our fets are like a normal Miami or Las Vegas party, that they don't need to leave Miami or Las Vegas to come here for that. No, they come in here for the cultural experience. Yes, the slow growth is a challenge, but I will always believe in maintaining the cultural purity and building, even if it's slowly, but building off of that, not just trying to do what they like, well, not just do what they're accustomed to across there and give them more of that, because nothing is special about us anymore. You know?
So that unique experience, you think is what would really take it over the edge.
Yeah, because if you look at the drags for Panorama, that raw, authentic experience, that is where the crowds really are, as opposed to in the grandstand, you know, where you're sitting down in your nice outfit, and I mean, I am different, so I just appreciate the culture so passionately that I would always say, don't dilute it for the foreign audience. Give them what we are. Let them learn to like that.
Actually, I know you want to comment, Ken, so let me just wrap up this segment called Would You Rather?
I asked this question because I know you're going to start a conversation.
I want this conversation to spill into the next segment. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so I have 2 points on what you're saying, yes, John. Point number one is, you know, when you think about what is culture, and as in the actual definition of what it is, I feel like a lot of times we confuse. I'm not saying you do this, right? We, as in Trinis, or people
plural
in general, confuse culture with traditional culture. That's 2 different things. So culture is really just whatever is our societal norms that we do over time. So if it is Kendall and I, we decide we want to play mass in bikini and beads, or whether you like it or not, that is Ken and Kendall's culture. That is literally the culture, right? So I feel like a lot of times we talk about cultural preservation, but what we're really trying to say is traditional culture preservation. And I feel like that differentiation gets lost a lot of times when we talk about what culture is, right? And then my second point is that I feel like I also want to say that when somehow there seems like there's a connection between, let's say, poverty and more authentic experiences. And I feel like in my events, I try to combat that a lot, which is why I have Kendall up in my arrow, right? And that's because you should be able to experience, let's say, a place like my arrow, which is in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's very beautiful. Like we have this event in a resort, it have something called Carrot Sheds or whatever the case is, the beach right there,
Nice
the breeze blowing, whatever. It's beautiful. You understand? Again, fish from duckies, and I have a next fellow who says better than duckies, but no one can remember your name, which is crazy. And you know, so again, like some of your best food in Trinidad and Tobago, you know, amazing atmosphere or ambience or whatever the case is. However, your association with it outside of like me doing this event, for instance, will just be kind of one like, all right, well, we probably had to go down like an excursion bus, or we taking a drive down, just me and my wife down the road, you know, like it's not like you're not watching it like how you might watch, let's say, like a soca brainwash, or watching it like, you know, something mainstream, essentially, you know. So I feel like I want to put in the universe, and I was saying our universe, the Kendall Stewart universe, that how could we change it? So you just said, Stuart, that you in for this dress up nice and listen to Pan, that's not where the real energy is, and you had to go down in the source, right? So why dressing up nice can't be part of the source? You understand where I'm coming from? Like why we can't have nice things but still be cultural? That's really the open question here, not necessarily asking you, but an open question to consider.
Well, it really again is the trade-off between your authenticity, your authentic culture, and trying to give I'd say Americans an American experience.
Right.
You know, so that is really, and when I was the question, yes, it didn't say traditional culture, but yes, you're right. I in my response, I was referring to traditional
culture, yeah.
And the way people they basically they curate the events now as though it's Burning Man or one of these things where we can't compete with American events, giving them American events, no.
Using their style.
So that's what I was saying with it.
But I appreciate
So
the fact that it is, and I mean, it could go into a nice long discussion. But so I'm really happy that we touched on it here, because again, our audience, they are the ones who would, as entrepreneurs are there to solve some of these problems, including ourselves as well, and I should mention, we're thinking about doing some design thinking, maybe this year, at some point in time, and these are some of the topics that, because it's just like you open the question there, as we know in the design thinking process, how can we? You understand? Get to do something like this, because so I want to challenge the audience, challenge the listeners, the viewers. Find the best problems to solve, as we say. You love Carnival, you heard Ken's story in terms of how we got involved in doing events and the whole Carnival scene and all these things, just as a man who like to party. Basically, at the end of the day. But how could we now, as people in it, solve some of these issues, bring clarity to some of them? Because I understand both perspectives, and there is some dumbing down of the traditional culture to suit, I would say, the foreign market in order to make it a little more appealing and comfortable for them. So, as you rightfully say, how could we integrate that? How could we expose these people to understand, well, you could dress nice, you could look nice, you could do X, Y, Z, but you could still experience this part of the traditional culture and not forget about it. So that's why I appreciate persons who curate the events such as Ken, and I wouldn't get into the name dropping because people will get mad at me, but for some of the other event curators who they know themselves would always integrate traditional culture into their quote-unquote nice events.
You understand? 100%.
What I would say is a great example of it being done well is, I will call her name, is Justin Gosen with Lime TT. Their Lime Troupe. Their Lime Troupe, it starts off with fire breathers and a rhythm section, and then you go on to the typical Juve, on the road. But that rhythm section is always there, and certain spots you stop, and the fire breathers again on the road. And so the audience, which is vastly an international audience for that band, they get to experience the typical Juve, everybody know, mud, paints, color, mass, vibes, but they also get a glimpse of the authentic Jamalasi and everything packaged with it. So I think that is. I mean, again, this section, the would you rather, it's not as though one is right or wrong.
correct. That's why I just say it's not even a rebuttal. I just put it into the universe, and people could say what they feel in the comment section, and you could use this as your pivot for another discussion. Stuart and Kendall.
And that's exactly why I wrapped up the would you rather, so that it would be clear that we're not choosing one particular side over the other. But I was just happy that the question originated there, and we could build out into this segment and really talk about that. And while Stuart queues up his next question, I would say this in case the audience hasn't realized: Ken is excellent at finding some very out of this world analogies, because there was no way I thought that he was going to even mention Christianity. I was waiting to see where this going.
As if a religion came up in this podcast ever.
Gosh, man, we have some red words. We have a red list, as you would know. And anyway, I say no more. So
I have a question.
Over to you.
Twice you mentioned oil. All right. So my question is, if Carnival, our culture, they try to make it the Festivals Commission, all right. But if we treated our festivals and Carnival, our culture, as like how we treat oil and the energy sector, what do you see for Trinidad in the future?
Question, but
as in like what we should do to treat it like that, or as in
if it is we treat it like that, if it is happen? What would happen? Yes, the same energy and effort and seriousness and business
resources
analysis and resources and pride
I'm gonna answer the question, but I'm just gonna say like a one line on the other thing that you may have been asking, which is basically what I want to say is, honestly, I would just say the sector don't really need much energy, bro. We just need to be allowed. I think right now,
facilitated.
The mentality to the sector is very much like, gosh, you again.
Keep them arms length.
Again, boy.
Well, what I would say is that certain of these large energy companies, they just aren't facilitated. They are encouraged and financed and given certain breaks to exist. So it's not just about
right. And I think so. I mean, I'm with you, and I feel like tax breaks, of course, facilitation and so on. Especially when it comes to GDP and so on, is very important. And I had the privilege of being with our then Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, as he went all over the world to sell Trinidad and Tobago really and truly. He was really selling our oil industry to major international companies such as Proman and so on and so forth. So I feel like being in those rooms really allowed me to understand that, you know, we are really like a small country, you know, in these big companies, and these companies, you know, their gross is more than our entire, you know, GDP, right? So I think just to understand, to be fair, right, there isn't, let's say, like a carnival company per se. Because I personally feel like, let's say there was like a carnival company, let's say you could go Canada and get a carnival company, and the carnival company, like, so Trinidad, let's say Trinidad budget is 6 billion, and the carnival company had, I could probably Google what like Proman like money is, but Proman have more than 6 billion. I just put it out there, right? Right? Trinidad is 6 billion to run the whole of Trinidad for the year. So if it isn't had a carnival company that had more money that was grossing more money than Trinidad needs to run the entire country for the year, I contest that that company coming in from the outside would have gotten similar breaks and so on. So my opinion is the reason why you don't find all them concessions and come and invest with we or whatever is because generally we are all bandwagonists. So all of us, we go with things when it is established. We not go and go, like when I was with the PM going to talk to people, he not go and say, well, this is going to be the next oil company, you know, that going to have, right, 10 billion in assets every year. No. He didn't do none of that. He went by who was already there. You understand? So that's why I think the responsibility is with us, the practitioners in the industry, to grow our brands to that level, which is why I would say I would love to get all of those concessions at the oil companies and thing again, but you had to give Jack his jacket, and you also have to know your place. We do not have BP money, so you cannot expect to get treated like BP. So we had to be able to take the facilitation, take the little pass, if you may, and build, because what would have happened is, and this is actually a next real interesting point, right? What would have happened, like, you know, with countries like BP and so on? This is like a whole next segue. But in a nutshell, they would have really been able to use like the benefits of working in other countries, such as some of those like Arab countries and so on and so forth. And they would have really made their money there, you know, not home, you know, not British Petroleum. I mean, make their money from London, you know, if you get what I'm saying. So,
come on.
So we from the perspective of Carnival, we had to now think, okay, we from Trinidad, let's go and make Dubai Carnival a thing. Dubai have money right now, so I want to make sure that Dubai is the one who is going to be able to have the money, and they are going to be able to spend big, and they are going to have it. And then that is, in my opinion, how we would be able to bring back the money home here. Because trying to fight up for all of these people not making sense. And I'll just give one quick antidote. When I did Campus Carnival, it had about 13 bands fighting up for UWI students. I know what Ken and Stefan and next set of friends did. We was like, cool. And we just didn't bother to advertise to UWI students. We advertised to Custard, UTT, SAMS, Bishop's Form 6, and everybody else. And you know what happened? We ended up with the biggest band. Because why? 13 people fighting up for a set, for this small set of people.
Small pie.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not making no sense. But 1 second, my headphones die, so I just need to switch it out. 1 second.
Okay.
No problem. What if your next big idea is already inside you, just waiting to be discovered? The future belongs to those who think differently and embrace new challenges. At our Design Thinking Workshop, you will unlock creativity, sharpen your problem-solving skills, and learn how to turn ideas into real impact. Collaboration, innovation, and transformation are at the heart of this experience. Get ready for something big. Further details will be coming soon. This is your moment to think, create, and innovate. Stay tuned. Ken, that was a fantastic point. And I mean, at the end of the day, it opens a lot of conversation as well. You know, is my favorite word, right?
Opportunity.
Opportunity. You know, and how we could develop these opportunities, how we could build these opportunities. And something interesting that you said just now in terms of exporting our culture and going to different countries and probably running carnivals there and so on.
100%.
I wanted to talk to bring that down a little more granular, because we all also know, and you would know probably a little more than us and Stuart as well, that we have so many creatives here. We have so many people that involved, not just in carnival, but in terms of entertainment and events and all these different things. I mean, we could go the gauntlet in terms of that. Where, in terms of international standards or international exposure, how can they really export themselves? Because a lot of these people are running one-person operations. They're doing it on their own. If I break it down as granular as a wire bender, and somebody who has that skill, which is a dying skill, by the way.
Big up Dave Cooper.
Yeah, and people not learning this skill anymore. So eventually we have no more wire benders. How could we export ourselves? How could we do more to get that international exposure and to exploit those opportunities?
All right, I'll give a list and I'll give a few examples. So number one, you could apply for the best universities and attend them. And a good example is Dave Cooper, who would have attended university in different countries. He would have gone to places like Brazil, and he would have been able to hone his craft, meet other people, and hopefully use those connections to continue his business. Number two, we could just DM people like crazy. DM really acting as a catalyst or a conduit, if you may, for your ability to connect with people who might be bigger than you. So you're a wire bender. All right, message Serena Williams and tell her you want to make something amazing for her for the next Met Gala. I message her from now, because the Met Gala is 11 months away, and just message as many people as possible. And then while you're doing that, you want to work with people who, what I would call on your level, essentially. So if it is, you're a beginner, look for another beginner who is, let's say, Serena's into tennis. So look for a beginner tennis player, who probably would want to use your service and will reply faster than actually Serena, and continue to build your brand while you still reach out to the Serenas and stuff out there. Because a lot of times people who, you think like far away or like high up there, they would still notice what's going on, and even if they don't, when they do notice, you want to be able to have a lot to show. You want to say, well, I did message you 4 years ago, but now I've been able to build a reputation from working with Ken, working with others, and then now I could finally reach any level to work with Stuart Fortuné.
Man, I'm a literary agent,
Yeah, true.
They'll get tied up,
So from the time you see the reach, you can say, all right, well, so what going on there? I say, well, no, look at my work. I work for Ken, I work for Kendall, I work for Kenson, I work for, Ken Valley.
Yeah.
So I'm finally ready. So I think, so those are the two things I think that should be done. Of course, we could list more, but I think, just, and that's the next thing too. I feel like my third thing is really, my brethren, I never forget Dion Coffee Joseph, he used to say, keep it simple, stupid, essentially. I think it's KISS. Yeah. So just keep it simple. So somebody gonna come and get some long cup. Nah, not that serious, bro. You want to get out there, just do your craft, do it well, and continue reaching out. It's your responsibility. Nesta always both Nesta and Stefan, they always like to say always think about who I'm more to lose in the situation. Serena nothing to lose, point. Bro. She her career done. She's a legend regardless. If she's still man, see if she's a legend. You do, right? You ain't a legend yet, so you need a message. She don't be like I see that's happening plenty. Why artists not bringing up younger generation? Yo, they already rich. You need to message them, but they message you. What's going on here? What's going on here? Is you who had to lose. It's you to catch. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely networking, as we have discovered or rediscovered, in terms of this phase of life, is extremely important.
Yeah, I've seen a lot recently, a lot of networking going on with the entrepreneurs. Dave Cooper, I know he was doing something with the NCC Museum. Right. I think he was doing some things for certain events, like some fets, doing the prop designs. And but yeah, you had to go out there, as Ken said. Close more to each, right? You had to go out there and make your noise and do your stuff and show your work out there, and then people will call you. You don't have to continue calling people at a certain point in time.
Just like getting one right phone call as well, that could open many doors. And before you go to your last question, I just wanted to say this or to point this out. Not necessarily a question, and both you guys would appreciate this because we are all creatives on this podcast. That sometimes just being the creative alone may not work. We learn about the left brain, right? During that whole, collaboration that you might need to say, all right, so for the highly creative people who may also be viewing and you say, boy, you want me to DM Brian Lara or you want me to send a DM to Serena, you going crazy or why you can't do that? Partner, team up, collaborate. Get 100%. Somebody who may be a little bit more outgoing or business focused. Extroverted, all these different qualities. Somebody who's a little more a little less risk averse, to take on a little more responsibility like that and work with them. Partnership is what works well, and you find that some really good partnerships come from scenarios where you have an excellent creative person and they don't have to worry at all about studying these business aspects and these administrative aspects. They could just be as creative as they want to be. And then you have the other person who just taking care of all the business and working well together.
That left brain, right brain thing. All these artists should have artist manager. I was the artist manager for many artists. So they would, as you said, they would be free to make the music, do the performances. I am the one with the headaches in the background. That whole thing came about, as you know, from the film industry, the fashion industry. So you'll have the head of fashion design and then the head of business, and they're working together. So you stay in your lane, I stay in my lane, and then we trash out things on top there and be successful. So yes, that is very important. You need to collaborate. You need to have a network. You need to have people in the wings. Not necessarily you bring them on board at once, but at least you realize, okay, that person has potential. I'll be ready for her or him in 6 months.
Important node in the network.
That's an important node in the network. I'll get back to her or him and bring them on board at the right time, So yeah, it's very, very important.
And that's something that I know Ken is a classic, very professional person where that is concerned in terms of working his network. He is not shy about asking for favors or saying what he wants. And I think those you saw some of that coming through the episode tonight. And those are key attributes as well for our audience to always remember. Now, Ken, final question to you. What is next for KENSAMBURY?
All right. That's a real good question, So real interestingly, I think what I'm going to do is I plan to make a list of like my friends and colleagues and stuff, and every day call 2 people. And the reason for that is because I feel like I want to be more proactive about collaboration, just as we were talking about. Because just like Enda said, if I need to do something, I will definitely, like if I know, Stuart definitely had the best pepper sauce in Trinidad. So like anytime if I think, hey, I need pepper, I already know I'll link in Stuart for pepper sauce one time, right? But okay, I might be working on something totally different. I might be working on, like, for example, a drummer approached me to manage him. I managed second star, but I'm a brethren really, So to say I have managerial experience, no. So probably I need to proactively call Stuart and say, Stuart, boy, you're still managing artists or you give up on them, boy, what are you for?
And I'll say, nah, I stop. I give up on that. That's what I was saying.
Right. But I'll say, well, Stuart, boy, why you want it out, boy? You have some advice, man, and Stuart can say, well, so is the case, blah, 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 blah. So that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that's what's next. I really just want to kind of like reach out. Of course, as you all would know, I recently got married, so I made a few like life changes and stuff. Purchase a house, kind of, move to a different space. So I've been like kind of just figuring out, I want to say like adulthood, like later adulthood, if you may, navigating, having a new family, and just kind of like navigating that space. And I think it has been very fulfilling. And I know, like, I don't know how much about the personal business. I mean, you can cut it out if you don't want it, right? But I know Kennel as well has been navigating, new family members and so on and so forth. So I know there could be still some relatability there.
But guys, I mean, we could go on and on.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the engineer here. He is ready to go to bed. So let us wrap it up for tonight. As we always say to most of most of them, feel glad to bring him back.
Yeah, the conversation was good.
It was good, definitely so. And, Ken, we want to thank you once again for joining us tonight. Of course, sharing all these stories, really bringing back some memories as well, different things and different scenarios. It was very insightful, I'm sure, for our audience, and we appreciate you. All
Yeah,
right?
man,
So
no
thanks
problem,
very
no
much.
problem.
Thanks a lot, my brother.
All right,
Enjoy
we'll keep in touch,
everything
man.
that you've been working for. You didn't reach Port of Spain yet, but you're almost there.
Yeah, now we're on our
Definitely
way.
heading in the right direction.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
Correct. And folks,
All right, thanks,
to
man.
you guys out there, always remember, keep pushing, keep challenging yourself, and of course, keep networking. You never know which conversation might be the one to open the opportunity, or the doors of opportunity, I should say, for you to break through. Until next time, be good. This is the Big Potato Podcast.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendall and Stark. Your time to grow, listen up. Take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn. It's next gen's turn.